Let me just briefly describe about the Copiun architecture. Uh, the very first piece is the CDM server. Okay, that is the server which sits in your data center. That is where all your data gets moved to. Okay, it's very secure in your data center. There's no cloud offering. There's no public cloud offering here. What we provide is a piece of software which can turn any existing hardware into that CDM server. Okay, that's one piece. Then there's a agent which sits on individual PCs like laptops and desktop, which is responsible for moving the data when the PCs are not being used. So these are the two essential components. Now for a remote side optimization perspective, we have another two components. One is, we call it constant access gateway, CAG. That is used, and when you have a lot of mobile workers which are not connecting to the corporate network, they're traveling, but you still want the data to be backed up, or data to be backed up, data to be accessible when they're not connected through the VPN. What we do is we install this piece of software, the CAG software, outside the military zone. Listen, it's in the DMZ zone. Okay, this piece of software does not store any data. It's kind of a simple router. So the CDM server initiates a control socket connection to this CAG, and whenever the agents are outside the corporate network and they cannot directly reach the CDM server, agent has an intelligence built into it. It connects to the CAG, okay, and says, I want to have an initiate a connection with the CDM. Once the connection request goes to the CAG from agent, the CAG on the control channel which has established with the CDM transfer that request to the CDM, and CDM authenticates that request and says, yes, you can route me further packets to that. So in turns, CAG is sitting in the DMZ zone. It never makes any inbound connections to the CDM. It's the CDM who initiate the inbound connection, outbound connection to the CAG. So that way you never have to open any ports for the CDM. So the CDM is totally inaccessible outside the network. So that is one piece of software. The another piece of software, we call it is a cache servers. Okay, you have different sites. Suppose you have a site in Paris and you have a site in Boston. Okay, now suppose your main server is sitting in the Paris, the CDM server is in the Paris, whereas your remote site, okay, on the Boston, you want to back up their data. What we do is a simple piece of software. Again, it can turn any piece of hardware into a cache server. And what happens is all the PCs on the remote side of Boston would back it up to this local cache, and then local cache server will slowly transfer this data to the CDM. Okay, whenever there's a bandwidth is available. So you can actually do some throttling around it, that during the day don't flood my network, but during the evening hours you actually want to transmit as much data from the cache server to the CDM. So that's one benefit. The second benefit of the cache server is that when it is time for doing recoveries, just think of if you need to recover 10 or 20 gig of data, it would take days if you do not have a cache server, because all your data is coming through the T1 line. If you have a connection, T1 connection between these two offices, it will take days to recover your data. With a local cache server, your data is available right there, and you can actually recover at the LAN speed. So that is another advantage of cache server.